Well, whenever you have a show of only four people on stage, that means you have a lot of lines. That means that the burden of responsibility of the show is very much on each of those four people. So you become very dependent on each other to tell this story, to say the right lines, to give the right cues, to maintain the right timing that you've come up with, all of that sort of thing. So it becomes a very ensemble activity, and one in which it's not broken up by, as in a musical, with a lot of other characters or a song or a dance or anything like that. It's there are not even any other scenes, as in a much larger play where another cast of characters comes out and performs for a while or does their scene. We're on stage almost the entire show working together. So that's a huge challenge to learn to live in that world together and depend on each other. The other challenge for this particular show is it's about a subject that not everyone is very, very familiar with, which is opera. And I have found some members, even of the audience, that just simply did not know many of the references that were in the play to certain composers, to certain singers, to operatic jargon. There is a moment in the show where someone mentions about a Sitzprobe. And if you're not in the theater or you aren't in opera, it's nearly impossible to understand what that means. What it means is that people sit down and sing through the show with the orchestra. Sitzprobe. But if you don't know that, it goes right by you, of course. And there are a number of those kinds of references that we try to make clear by our acting and by the way we respond to them and our behavior. The characters in this play, all of them, are very, very familiar to me, personally, because I grew up with a mother who was in the opera world. And when I was growing up in New York City, on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, I saw these people all the time. I went to my mother's coaching sessions, to her rehearsals for the operas she was performing in. So I saw these characters and these individuals all the time. I was totally intimately familiar with the opera Rigoletto that they're talking about in the show, the characters that are in the show. I've seen it many, many times on the stage, but I'm unusual, and that's not the case for the other actors or for much of the audience. I understand entirely where this character lives, because styles and fashions in opera come and go very quickly. And he was a man who had a wonderful voice, who for a few moments of his life was compared to the greatest Italian singer, baritone in this case, of his generation. But he went out of fashion. His style of singing went out of fashion. And so I understand this man who was greatly disappointed by what happened to him, but refuses to let that ruin his life. And so a great deal of this play is about that Dylan Thomas poem that says, "Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Don't just fade away and evaporate, but keep trying to find the youth inside yourself." My character says at one point something I personally believe very much. We don't change. I'm still the lovely lad that I always was. I just happen to be trapped in a cage of rusty iron bars. We don't change. And so they try to maintain that in this play, and this character does, certainly. And he's the most upbeat character in the play. He's positive and is willing to do anything not to succumb to old age to just dying away and leaving no mark. He says, there's another great singer today who says, I rest, I rust. Which is the way this guy feels.